Am I the asshole? For telling my sister what not to name her daughter? My wife and I had been trying to have a baby for several years, went through IVF, 2 miscarriages, and when we finally got a viable embryo we found out the baby girl had brain damage incompatible with life and had to get an abortion in week 16. We were absolutely devastated. We now have 2 healthy boys, but we haven't forgotten our baby girl and think about her often, leave candles at the cemetery, etc. My sister is 9 months pregnant and wants to give her baby the same name as our dead daughter. I've told her several times that the name is off limits and to choose another one. But she's just texted me and my mum asking what we think about her short list of 3 names and that name was still on it. I've told her off and demanded she takes it off her list. She refuses to talk to me about it and wants to do as she pleases. Who's the asshole here? Info: is it a name with special meaning in your family? Like your grandmother's name? There should be a lot of other names to choose. I'm sorry for all you had to go through. Not the asshole. To people saying you don't own the name, if you're above 15, get over yourselves. Way for your sister to poison you and your wife's relationship with her and the niece by naming her after your dead baby you still mourn. It's not so much about the name itself, but creating a living reminder of what you went through that will be in your face, so to speak, at random times. How she can be so inconsiderate of her brother you is beyond me. Not the asshole. Yes, fine, technically nobody owns a name, and yes, technically you can't ban her from using it, but there is nuance in the world FFS. Your sister sounds horrendously cruel. Not the asshole. You're not trying to book a name for a hypothetical child, this is the name of your actual child. Your sister is being hugely insensitive about this. Now, waiting for the downvotes. Not the asshole. As your sister, she should know or at least contemplate how this might make you feel. Absolute best case scenario would be if she asked in the hope of bringing commemoration to your angel by naming her daughter the same. Such a thing might require quite a special relationship with your sister. But, I feel you have the right to say she shouldn't use the same name if it doesn't sit right with you. Not the asshole. However, there's not much you can do if she does use that name. Instead of trying to control your sister, perhaps you should tell her what to expect from you, your wife, if she chooses to use the name. Very sorry for your loss. Not the asshole. Does your sister want her baby to be told she was named after her dead cousin when she's older? 'Cause that's what is going to happen if she chooses the same name. I honestly can't understand people who do this. There are millions of names out there. Pick a different one. Not the asshole, and I question the integrity of anyone who votes any other way. This isn't about owning a name or banning a name because it was the name of your favorite book character in 3rd grade. There are thousands upon thousands of names. This is Op's dead child's name. Sis is willing to cause her sibling pain and grief for a lifetime because the name is pretty to her. What kind of person is willing to cause ongoing emotional pain to a loved one for life because they can't be bothered to pick one of thousands of pretty names instead? The kind of person who is an asshole. Info: was the name you chose for your daughter a significant name in the family, honoring a grandmother or someone like that? Not the asshole. Of course no one owns a name, but the lack of empathy from the sister is appalling. 20,000 baby names are out there. I almost feel like she is rubbing in the brother's face that she has a daughter and theirs didn't count. I don't know if I could come back from that if she follows through. Before me and my husband had children, we already had a boy name and a girl name in mind, though it wasn't something we particularly discussed with anyone. Before we had our first, my sil gave birth to a very poorly baby girl, who she named a shortened variant of the name we had in mind if we had a baby girl. Heartbreakingly, she died several weeks later. We went on to have baby boys, but we would never have considered using the name we had originally discussed if we had had a baby girl. That would have been such a heartless and cruel thing to do. Not the asshole. It's very sad that you have been put in this horrible position. Not the asshole. It's like family members don't even care about each other. Who does that to their sibling? You don't own the name MFS when they need to show someone empathy. Seriously though, not the asshole. She is trash for that. Nata, but she is. The baby I didn't get to keep to term I named Elsie. Now anytime I hear the name I remember I could have had an Elsie. Which is daft as I never knew the gender, but I just felt it was a girl. I think of how old she would be etc. Now if my sister asked me about the name I'd probably say fine, but I'd also explain my attachment to the name, and knowing my sister it wouldn't even be a question. She just wouldn't use it. Because it's insensitive and mean-hearted to continue like that. Your sister sounds horrid. Normally nobody gets to own a name, but this is an unusual case and your sister is definitely TA. Not the asshole. My brother and his wife lost their baby when the child was just a few hours old. A year later my aunt named her son the same name, a name that had no ties to our family other than the deceased boy. It was cruel and unnecessary. Ask your sister why it is so important to her to cause you pain. Because it makes no sense she is willing to sacrifice her relationship with you over a name. Not the asshole. The fact that she has 2 other names she's considering yet is the icing on the she's the ass cake. She's been informed multiple times that this would be upsetting, she's actively looking for input, and she's actively ignoring input. Why can't she knock that one name off the list and focus on the other 2? Not the asshole. I considered using my niece's name for my daughter's middle name a few years after she passed. I didn't even like the name, but I loved my niece. I asked my sister, and she said it would hurt her if I did. It was immediately crossed off the list. How could your sister be so cruel? Not the asshole, but your sister sure is enough said. I don't know how it's so hard for some people to wrap their heads around the idea that even if doing something isn't inherently wrong, if it's genuinely upsetting to someone you care about, that should bother you. Not the asshole. Your sister is being selfish, inconsiderate and unfeeling to keep that name in the mix after you expressed your feelings in the matter. I'd stop kicking up a fuss and tell her and your mother plainly that it's not okay and they are risking their future relationship with you and your family if she insists on using the name. Not the asshole. Just because someone is free to cause someone else pain doesn't mean they should. If one name would cause my brother a lifetime of pain to hear, there is no way I'm using it. I hope she realizes what she would be doing to you and your wife and chooses something else. Nah, but slightly leaning towards your sister possibly being one. I know it's sensitive, but a 16-week fetus may not hold the same weight for everyone in your family, the way it did to you. Yes, she was very much your daughter and child, but unfortunately that doesn't mean her name which you had decided to give to her at birth is off limits to others. Your sister isn't wrong to like it still and wish it for her child, and you aren't wrong in your emotional aspect, but logically, your sister isn't wrong either. That being said, I personally wouldn't ever do this to my sister on an emotional level. Not the asshole. I couldn't imagine naming my child after my stillborn niece. My niece deserves the right to her name, especially since she didn't get to enjoy breath. Not the asshole. Buy a dog and give it the name of your sister's most hated ex-boyfriend. And make sure you call him especially often when she's around you. Perhaps then she will realize what hurtful memories can be brought up by associations. Your sister is essentially forcing you to think about and grieve for your late daughter, over and over, forever. That is cruelty to another level. She is a total asshole. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. How self-centered is your sister if she can't realize that if she did choose that name her daughter, that every time you spoke about or saw your niece it would bring back painful memories. I hope your sister sees sense. I'm sorry for your loss.